Hello and welcome to the Fishing Guide Podcast. I'm your host, and we have a special guest this week. Actually, had to call him in because, get him off the water, get him to stop guiding. But Payton Usrey is here. He is a Beaver Lake crappie guide, and of course, he had something going on, and so we just wanted to have him come in and visit about it because it's something that's real important as anglers that we talk about and kind of know what's going on if things like that happen to us when we're on the water. So
right.
I think we just jump right into it. What do you think? Just kind of jump in and.
Well, it happened the day before too, up on the north end of the lake.
Uh-huh.
I was shooting a dock with a group of people, and it was actually family. And a guy come down, and he asked me if I lived here, and I said, yeah, Northwest Arkansas. And he said, well, you don't live here, and I said, no, sir. And he said, well, you just need to get your behind out of here. And I said, no, sir, I'm fishing. And well, he's like, well, there's a whole lake out there. So I got that on day one, and I was like, well, went through the whole spiel with him. So day two, I decided to go to the south end of the lake. Well, I'm just going to avoid up there.
Right.
So I went to the south end, and I told my client he wanted to come up from Fort Smith and learn dock shooting.
Right.
So I said, okay. I said, well as I had talks with him about dock shooting, I said, now one thing you're going to run into is you're going to run into some dock owners that aren't going to appreciate you very well.
Right.
It's about, 10% probably that you might have an issue with. So he said, okay. And I said, well, there's this one dock up here because he planned on coming back and fishing. And I said, it's a really good dock. It holds a lot of fish. It's right off a point.
Right.
I said, but there's an old man that's been known to come down and get kind of hostile, and he has a pipe.
Right.
So, and he's been known to use that pipe on several boaters. And so we get down there, and the first shot in that my customer catches a big one. And it's just on from there. We're just ripping them and not even really paying attention. And all of a sudden, Mr. Tim shows up in his robe with his dog, and is instantly hostile. It's not how are you, how you doing, could you be careful around my dock, or like some dock owners are real nice. And I've developed a really good relationship with a lot of dock owners. I've gave them baits, I've gave their kids, baits, and took them fishing, gave them fish trees, which helps me out.
Right.
So, but no, not Mr. Tim. Mr. Tim, it exploded. I really tried to keep my cool because I wanted to kind of film it for evidence, how you handle the situation. I don't say I handled it 100% like I should have, but I still think I did okay.
Right. So this incident happened on a Beaver Lake, which is a Corps of Engineer lake. And so all of the property is owned by the Corps of Engineers from the land forward. And so all of that is public water. So the only things that you can't fish on Beaver Lake are commercial docks they actually have to have the sign on that says no fishing. And if they don't have that sign, then you can actually fish them. So that's according to law. But otherwise, all of the docks are public. So
right.
And dock shooting is really common here on Beaver Lake, isn't it?
Yes, it's a sport. It's very, very popular. It's kind of been forgotten since live scopes come out.
Right.
So it's gave a lot of the dock fish a break.
Right.
So I've kind of went back to it because all the fish have just been there waiting for me.
Right. And so you were down there fishing, and Tim came down. What happened after that?
So Tim came down, and he said, "You're too close to my dock. I don't want nobody near my dock because they're always stealing stuff."
Right.
And I'm immediately like, "Oh, I'm gonna get my phone out and start recording this." And I told him, I said, "You've been known to be aggressive. You've been beat up before because I know," and I talked to the guy that got in a fight with him, and Tim obviously didn't remember, which I think something's wrong there. But an argument kind of ensued there, and I kept my cool. But I explained to Tim the rules of the Corps, which I've been dock shooting probably 10 years now, and I always had my rules memorized. I've always talked to the Corps. I've always talked to Benton County. So I knew going in my rights as a fisherman and that was public water. So I explained to Tim, and he explained to me that, well, you can just call Benton County. They never come anyway. And I said, okay, I will. So we argued a little bit back there and forth a little bit. Then he's like,
Right.
well, I'll just call the warden and ask him. And I said, well, I've got the warden's personal phone number. Would you like to call him? I'll give it to you, you know.
Right.
Get your pen and paper out. He's like, well, I ain't got no pen and paper. And he called me a couple words. And I said, well, go get your cell phone. He's like, well, you're not going to wait on me. So it just kind of went back and forth. And then he's like, well, if you keep getting close to my dock, I'm going to get my pipe. And I said, oh, there's the pipe that he told me before the video started that didn't exist, that I knew did. And I said, go get that pipe, Tim. I said, I want to take one for the team. I'm going to record what this guy does. So he come back with that pipe, and he's like, get away from my dog. And he just slams it into my trolling motor there. It doesn't look as hard as it did on video, but it left a big round circle on my Ultrex plastic. Then he come back again, and
so you have to understand, this isn't a 2-foot pipe. We're talking Tim brought out
10
a
foot
10
foot metal
pipe this big around, and poor old Payton's out there with his almost brand new boat, and someone's shoving a pipe
in it, and he's like, you get close again, I'll hit more than just your motor. And I just let the wind push me right back into him, and he went after me again, and he's getting a little close to me, so I just grabbed it and threw it away. And I said, now you're kind of being an idiot, Tim.
Right.
So at that point I knew that instead of instigating it further, I needed to go ahead and call the law.
Right.
And Tim's like, oh, I was on the phone with dispatch, and Tim's like, oh, they're not going to come. Well, as soon as he heard dispatch say they're almost there, Tim drops the pipe and takes off running for his house.
Right.
so he beats him to the door, and Benton County goes, well, what's the problem? He goes, oh, nothing. He did nothing wrong. Nothing's wrong here.
Right.
So Benton County comes down there, and they're like, well, what's going on? And so I just explained to them. They're like, well, Tim said nothing's wrong. And I said, well, something's wrong. And I just handed them the video, and they're like, oh, well, Mr. Usher, we're going to go arrest him.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. Would you like to go ahead and press charges? And I said, I don't know if I have the kind of heart to do that. I said, I said, why do I have to press charges? I said, it's kind of, right here.
Right.
And we'll just need you to do that. And I said, well, I'd rather y'all just educate him, and I explained to them the rules that I knew, made sure that was the right rules and that they knew. And they said, yes, sir, you can fish that dock all you want to. I said, okay, I want you to go tell Tim that before this happens to the next angler.
Right.
And something worse happens. And the Benton County then instructed me, well, you need to call the Corps because the Corps office would really love to know about Mr. Tim.
Right.
So then they sent me on my way, and they spoke to Tim, and I called the Corps. And I talked to a real nice man up there, and he was very very concerned, and he happened to be a dock shooter as well.
Oh, all right.
On the lake, so I was like, "Wow, somebody at the Corps that that's a fisherman." And I said, "That was great." I said, "I was really glad to hear that." And he said, "I will get with my commanding officer, and we'll get right down to this."
Right.
So I have heard that they went and visited him personally, but I haven't got any more details yet of what's happened.
I got you.
But I think the problem took care of itself by the fishermen seeing it and the public.
Right.
So it's kind of educated people. Now I did get a lot of hate over it.
Right.
Of the video. I got a lot of hate for not prosecuting. Oh. And I got a lot of hate for filming. And I got a lot of hate because people thought I was terrorizing an old man.
Right.
So, but in reality, I was there fishing. He wasn't there. He come down to terrorize me.
Right. So, you mean you didn't bring your pipe out of your boat?
Yeah, I didn't bring no pipe out of it. No.
You got fishing rods.
Yeah, that's all I'm doing. I'm not there to, he accused me twice of stealing stuff in the video, and I'm not here to steal anything. Just your crappie.
And so the videos actually appeared on Facebook. You posted them on Facebook so people could see them. A lot of people watching them. And still, I saw this morning, people are still, boy, I tell you what, people are just dying to just say something to you, whether it's funny or pull a prank on or
I've got people calling me from all over the United States wanting to go on trips just to hope to get a picture with Tim.
Yeah.
I'm like, why do you want to go terrorize him? I'm like, let's just go fishing.
That's right. And so the whole fact of the matter is we as anglers, we just want to go fish, and if it's public water, we want to fish. And it's probably a very tiny amount of people that are vandalizing or theft or stuff that's happening on these boat docks. And so we don't want that to blacken the eye of the anglers that are out there. And so,
and, a lot of anglers posted, well, I would have got up there and I would have hurt him. Well, that's something you never want to do. Don't ever do that. Don't ever get up and assault somebody. Let that person be the idiot, if you want to say that word.
Yeah.
Don't ever be the aggressor.
Right. So and actually dock shooting, you're pretty low to the water. I mean, your lures and everything's pretty low, so it's actually not as bad as it seems, especially if someone's your scale. But I mean, by the time you get done with the day, they're people that are dock shooting are probably pretty good at it.
Yeah, and if you're not confident making the shot, don't do it, especially around their boat or their pontoon. Or I understand dock owners get mad about their vacuum hoses and stuff because you pull hard enough, you can poke a hole in it. I said, but if you're not confident in making that shot, don't do it. Stay near the swim decks and stuff, because if you get hung on the angle iron, you will, and if you break off, your jig will fall right back in the water. Right. It happens every time. It rarely stays there. So,
because they're pretty small hooks that you're dealing with. Yeah. That you're shooting, and pretty small lures too, aren't you?
Yes. Yep.
I mean, in general.
Yeah. Usually using a 2-inch bait, a 1.5 to 2-inch bait. Yes.
Pretty small, so so that takes care of that part. Unless you want to add something, because man, I tell you what, you are a celebrity now in Northwest Arkansas.
That's what some saying, but I told one guy that was kind of being on me about it. I said, well, I was already famous before that, but okay. But I just want to reiterate: don't ever be aggressive towards the dock. Right. I mean, don't get on the dock and fight them. Just if you're going to do anything, just record and back away. And that's what Benton County instructed me. Just record and let them make the mistakes.
You stayed longer than me, I would have just left.
Exactly. And that's the other thing I got a lot of heat for. Well, I'll never hire you as a guide because you wasted that person's time. Right. Well, I looked back at my customer and I said, how far do we want to take this? And he said, well, I'm coming back to fish here, so I want him dealt with today.
Right, I got you.
So, and for all the fishermen, I said, he's assaulted at least 12.
Wow.
So it was time for Tim to get an education.
I gotcha.
So, you have to think of it at that point too. And and then my customer still had a fabulous day. He got his limit, he learned a lot. He came back the next day with a friend and they caught 17 together. It's their first time dock shooting on their own. So
we've been dock shooting together.
Yes.
Yep.
We need to go again.
Some articles. Let's tell, what's your secret to the best docks on Beaver Lake? Would it be something special, maybe? Hanging from them?
Under them? Definitely. American fish trees. Oh my gosh! And yesterday I rolled up on a dock that's got American fish trees on it, which is funny. This guy up in Rogers ordered these trees and put them on his dock, and they're always loaded with the big ones. They're always loaded with big old black crappie on them. And that's the good thing about the American fish trees is the wide limbs on them. They have so much shade and cover. I mean, them crappie just get right up underneath them, and you just run your jig right over the top of them, and they just come up and just eat it. Right. And that's another trick I'm doing right now is I'm pitching that bobber in there. People don't think I'm catching them with a bobber right now. Well, I'm pitching my bobber up in there and keeping it about 1 foot to 3 foot deep and keeping it right above the fish trees and watching the fish come up and just nail it.
Oh, isn't that awesome when they do that?
And if you're up on the big end in the clear water, you can actually watch the crappie come out of the darkness behind your lure and suck it in. Sometimes I'll set the hook before the bobber ever goes down because the bait disappears.
Is there a bobber secret you want to tell us? Or not?
Yeah, I paint them black.
Oh, all right.
I
didn't know if you were going to say that.
I've been showing it. I've been showing it. I learned that from my old man, and he kind of come up with it first, matching it with the black floats. Because he could not get the fish to eat it with the orange bobber. Because they were looking at the orange bait or the bait and then the orange bobber, and they just kind of scared them. Right. So now we've really thrown them off.
So show us some of these baits that you're using to catch fish on docks.
What I usually use is Bobby Garland baby shad. Okay. And I've got one here. Right. And this is on my B&M sharpshooter sticks. This is what I use to dock shoot with. This is my all-time favorite pole for that. I like to use a 16th ounce head. Now, you can go to a 1/32 ounce and still do just as good. Yeah. But now this is the Beaver Lake color right here. This is monkey milk. So, and the good thing about this is that I call it match the hatch. I mean, our shad it mimics a lot of our shad color. But it's just like it's the Beaver Lake color. Every time somebody asks me what color do I need to get for dock shooting, monkey milk.
Right.
90% of the time, this is what I'm using to dock shoot with. Now, a lot of times I use the Crappie Pro sickle hooks, chartreuse.
Right.
That glows in the dark underneath docks.
Uh-huh.
And then I also use my Big Pete Series jigs from Skipper's Jigs.
Okay.
But when I'm with customers, that gets expensive.
Right.
So you can't ever go wrong with the old cheapo Walmart. And Arky makes these, Lucky Strike. A whole bunch of people make these. And they're a lot cheaper to use. So when I got customers losing 30 jigs a day,
right,
it's hard to give them my high dollar stuff when this still does the job, to get it in the hard places. So
the 6-foot rod, the BMM pole, is actually made for dock shooting because you're loading up your pole.
You're loading up the pole, yes sir.
Uh-huh.
Yep. It is designed for dock shooters, and my customers love them. They always end up asking me where to go get one and buy it. And even when we're get done dock shooting, if we want to go fish a brush pile or something,
right,
we'll take this rod, and it's all around purpose rod. And what I also like about it is in the springtime when the fish are on the banks, I can shoot underneath tree limbs that are overhanging where people can't cast over.
Uh-huh.
That's a really good thing about this pole.
6 foot. That one looks well used.
Yes. Oh, yes. I wear them out so much, I have to put new tips on them.
Oh.
So.
Wow.
So that's the only problem I've ever had is I wear the tips out.
So tell us a little bit about if you were going out there, what docks would you focus on now?
So anything in at least 10 to 25 feet of water right now. Pontoon boats. They love pontoon boats.
All right.
They get the shade and the warmth in the wintertime when the sun hits the aluminum. And that attracts the bait fish, and which attracts the bigger fish.
I got you.
The biggest misconception on our lake for dock shooting is summertime. Oh, the shade in the summertime. Well, since our lake is such a recreational lake,
right,
that's when everybody else is out. They're on their docks.
Right.
They're running the ski boats.
Not a good time.
Not a good time. You know what happens to the docks in ski boat time. They're banging and clanging and boats are breaking and the fish just go, nope, and they're gone. But in the wintertime, it's calm, it's collect. They get it right up under them. They could be a foot deep, or they'll be right to where you can look in there and just see them just barely under the surface.
Yeah.
Which comes into use the bobber again.
I got you.
So wintertime is, I would say, October all the way through the 1st of April. They will stage on them docks all the way till spawn, and then they'll go spawn behind them.
I got you. That takes us to Tackle Time. Tackle Time sponsored by PICO Lures. Of course, PICO Lures has a whole line of jig heads and small little crappie baits. And, man, they got stuff you can catch walleye on and bass and stripers and whites. You name it, game fish, they got it. You can catch them. So you can check out all their stuff there and find them at picolures.com. And then I also brought Smith Products is our other sponsor, and I brought in our Mr. Crappie Slab Sticker to show you. This is knowingly that you clean fish constantly. This is their whole line of knives that they have for crappie fishermen. And so you can check out all their products at smithproducts.com. And if they want to find out more about you and your guide service, where would they go?
Facebook. I'm easy to find. Just put in Payton Usrey Fishing or Big Pete's Outdoors.
Okay.
So
that's all they have to do?
Pretty simple. Yep. You can just Google my name and you can find me pretty easy. I'm the only Payton Usrey out there that fishes, so it makes it easy.
There you go. And make sure that, before things get heated or things like that, keep a cool head and, like everyone wants to enjoy the lake, make sure we can do that. So
for sure,
it'll all work out better. And like I always say every week, make sure you keep your hook sharp and your lures in the water.